This meeting is being recorded.
All right, it's all yours, Mayor.
All right, thank you. So folks, this is the January 3rd Village Board of Trustees meeting for the Village of Flower Hill. Thank you for joining. Apologies for those who are stuck in the waiting room. We're having some technical difficulties. We now have everybody out of the waiting room and we will start the meeting. Going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll just lead the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, in the liberty and justice for all. All right. So today's meeting is going to start with public hearings. The first one is for a lot line adjustment hearing from 50 and 60 Walnut. This is a carryover of a hearing from the last meeting. Let's start there. Before we get started, I know we have, who do we have from the applicant here? So we have the applicant, and I think we have your attorney as well, John Farrell.
Yes.
Okay. And now, Jeff, we had discussed, I think prior to this, just before this meeting, Jeff Blinkoff, our village attorney, we had some new information from you today, John. I think it was submitted this morning. And we also received some additional commentary from the public just before this meeting.
Mayor, don't you need to make a motion to open the public hearing?
Thank you, Randall. Make a motion to open the public hearing and then we'll revisit my comments.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 The
All
floor is
right.
yours, Mayor.
So, John, I think based off the fact that we've just gotten some additional information and from both you and the public, I think we'd like to start off with getting your consent to carry this hearing over till the next month so the board can review that information and I guess address any questions we can after the meeting. Is that possible?
I didn't have, this kind of took me by surprise. I didn't have a chance to consult with my client.
Just to be clear, Mr. Farrell, they're not, I don't think the mayor is saying that they're not going to let people be heard tonight. Just
Okay.
that they'll then want people to be able to review everything that's been submitted.
Correct.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's acceptable.
Yeah, John, we'd like, I guess you, on behalf of the applicant, to walk us through the information you submitted. We'll ask any questions. How we're just getting this today. I think we'd like a chance to look it over.
Sure, I understand.
Okay, so then I'll hand it over to you for
Okay.
presentation.
Sure. For the applicant, my name is John Farrell. I'm with the firm Son, Ward, Braff, and Koblenz. Our offices are at 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Suite 601, Uniondale, New York. On the line tonight are my client, Dan Baumbach, the architect on the project, Tricia O'Neill. She designed the house that's currently under construction. And, you know, as you said, we submitted some additional information, but before I walk you through that, I'd like to, you know, open the floor to my client to give his point of view on why they entered into contract to buy the adjoining property and what they seek to achieve by doing so. So at this point, I just asked Dan to unmute himself and walk you guys through that.
Sure. So hello, and thank you for the opportunity to speak before the board. My name is Dan Baumbach, and my family has lived in Manhasset for almost 10 years. My wife and I have been active community members since that time, whether through volunteering our time on the Muncie Park Tree Committee, various school committees, a nonprofit board, community groups, as a Cub Scout den leader, or as a coach. We love our community and are looking forward to moving to our new home being built in Flower Hill. As a reminder, the home we are currently building at 60 Walnut was already approved by the Architectural Review Committee and the Board of Trustees earlier in 2021 and meets Village Code. We did not need, nor did we ever seek, a variance for this build as it conforms with Village Code. When the owner of 50 Walnut Lane informed us of their decision to move, we were disappointed to lose such nice and welcoming neighbors. The seller mentioned that their ranch would most likely be bought by a builder to be replaced with a new home. As they discussed selling their home to a builder, we were also approached to see if we had any interest in their property. When my wife and I thought about the new home that could be built at their address, we calculated that a new code-conforming house could be placed 13 feet closer to our home and still meet the minimum side setback. As we thought about how to prevent this section of Walnut Lane from becoming denser, we realized that if we owned both properties, we could request a lot line shift in order to increase the green space between both homes. Further, our young family would benefit from having the additional grass to play on. Knowing that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, we made an offer to the seller and are currently in contract to purchase 50 Walnut. As incoming residents of the village, we care deeply about our new neighbors, the character of the village, and the high standards put in place by the Village Code, the Architectural Review Committee, and the Board of Trustees. Deciding on how many feet to move the property line took a considerable amount of time. We chose 21 feet based on researching Village Code and after separate meetings with our architect, attorney, and the village inspector. We could have requested to move the property line 34 feet, which would still leave behind a conforming lot that would be larger than 40% of the lots on Walnut Lane. However, we decided on 21 feet, as this would leave behind a lot that is 114.64 feet, resulting in a lot that is larger than approximately half of the remaining lots on Walnut. This lot would allow a new code-conforming home to be built similar in size to our home without the need for a variance. The purpose of our application is to request a 21-foot lot line shift. We understand that any subsequent build at 50 Walnut Lane is a separate matter that would be subject to the village's code and review by the Architectural Review Committee. We'd like to thank the many neighbors on Walnut Lane and in Flower Hill who have offered their support to this application. These letters of support were provided to the village earlier. Again, our intention with this application is to ensure there is additional green space between our home and a new home built at 50 Walnut. As the owner of 60 Walnut and contract vendee for 50, we respectfully request approval of our application to shift the lot line 21 feet, resulting in 2 lots, each of which exceeds minimum code. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Bomback.
So
Mr.
I
Farrell,
think that,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that about sums up the reason and the thought process that went into it. This wasn't something my client is doing, off the cuff. He took a lot of time to think about this and really, map this whole process out before he started on this endeavor. If you recall at the last hearing, the board had asked us to prepare like a tax map exhibit showing the lots on Walnut Lane. We did prepare that exhibit and I provided it to the village clerk. And I don't know if I don't think I have the ability to screen share. I don't know if she can screen share it. I know she's on the line. I see her down there. But just to walk you through it, since the board members have it in front of them, what I did was I highlighted the lots that are the subject of this application. They're highlighted in red. So, and I highlighted them in their current configuration, not post lot line adjustment, because this is based on the existing conditions. So if you look at the properties that are highlighted in yellow, there's the exhibit. Properties that are highlighted in yellow all have lot frontage on Walnut Lane that is less than 114.64 feet in width. So it's out of there are 31 lots excluding the 2 lots that are the subject of this application, and 14 of them have less than 114.64 feet of lot width. There are 2 additional lots that have addresses on Crabapple Lane and Boulder Road. Both of those lots also have frontage of less than 100 feet on Walnut. So I highlighted those just to show you that, this area, this particular street is very, it's not cookie cutter. Every lot is a little bit different. There are many different widths. But at the end of the day, this lot, the smaller of the 2 lots, which would be 114.64 feet, would be roughly, if you don't count the 2 lots one on Boulder and one on, it's close to 50% of the lots would be smaller than the lot we're proposing, the smaller lot. If you include those, it's more than 50%. It would be 17 out of 33 lots would be smaller than the lot that we would be leaving behind. On the other side, the lot that we would be creating at 60 Walnut Lane would be 156.64 feet in width along Walnut Lane. I've highlighted the properties in blue on Walnut Lane that have more frontage than 150 feet. So if you look at the letter that I submitted, I created a chart that shows it shows you the lot widths of all
John,
the
hold on a
parcels.
second. I'd ask
Yeah, so-
anybody that's not speaking to please go on mute. To get an echo. All right, John, try it again now.
Okay. So I highlighted the properties that are highlighted in blue on this map are lots that have 150 feet or more of lot width along Walnut Lane. And the lot at 5 Walnut, which is the corner of Boulder and Walnut Lane, is 175 feet in width. The lot at 124, I'm sorry, the lot 124 Walnut Lane, which is the property at the corner of Dogwood and Walnut. That lot is also approximately 175 feet in width. And then there are larger, similar lot sizes at 15 Walnut and, I'm sorry, just give me 1 second. 15 Walnut is approximately 150 feet and 150 Walnut is 156.16 feet. So even after we create the subdivision, these lots will be similar in size to other parcels. They won't stand out for their largeness or their smallness once the lot line adjustment is granted. Another issue that was raised at the hearing was the possibility of building a bigger home on Walnut, a bigger home at my client's property at 60 Walnut. So with the additional square footage, we calculated that my client could theoretically add another 1,500 plus square feet to that house based on the lot size for GFA and still be conforming. So that would bring the house to about 6,500 square feet. My client has no desire to do that. The house is under construction. It's a brand new home. There's no reason to add an additional 1,500 square feet. But even if they did add that 1,500 square feet, it would still be approximately 2,000 square feet smaller than the home at 20 Walnut Lane, which is almost 8,500 square feet. So, you know, you have to take it all in context. The code is there for a reason, and what we're leaving behind are not substandard lots. We're talking about, we're not increasing density, we're not increasing traffic. We're talking about 2 new homes on the street, which are only going to increase property values in the community. And I think there's going to be a benefit once this is granted. So, and the lot line adjustment also achieves my client's goal of, you know, creating more separation between him and the adjoining property to the west. I should also note that my client submitted some letters of support from neighbors along Walnut. I believe there are 9 letters from neighbors on Walnut that are in favor of this application, including the 2 that are most affected. Those are the property owners on either side of this subdivision at 40 and 70 Walnut Lane. They're all in favor of it. And the property owner across the street at 65 Walnut Lane is also in favor of the application. So the 3 people that would be most impacted by the subdivision are all in favor of this application. You know, I think that's important. I think if the neighbors on the street don't have an issue with it, and it's not going to deter from the character of the community, and it's with the code, I don't really see a reason why this application should be denied. So with that, I'll ask the board if they have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. So I'll open it up to the board for questions to the applicant. I guess while everybody's coming off mute, Mr. Farrell, do you know what if the lot line change is approved, what would the square footage be for the home on 50 Walnut? What would be the max there?
I have to look at it. I just got a text from my client. It was 13 letters from people on Walnut that are in favor of the application.
Okay.
So,
we have
just
those
so
from-
you know,
Those were emailed over, I think, this afternoon. So we have those in our possession now.
yep,
Get them to the record.
Hi, Mr. Farrell. This is Frank Janice, trustee Janice.
Yep.
Can you zoom in on this, particularly at the red highlighted lots?
that would have to, Ronnie would have to take care of that. She's controlling the,
It's me,
Screen
Frank.
share.
I'm getting there. Hold
Randall,
on.
Randall.
Because
So-
something's wrong with the scale. The
no,
50 looks
that's
bigger
the-
than 60.
that's the way the county's tax maps are not all the same scale. So
Right.
I tried my best to map this out. So if you look at the lower right section, between Dogwood and Crabapple, those lots look significantly bigger, but they're not. It's just the way the county scales the tax map. It's not, there's no consistency to it.
Right, because this graphic then really doesn't help us because it's not
Well,
to the proper scale. So it looks like the smaller lot 50, is now bigger than lot 60.
well, I think you can, if
It
you.
should be the other way around. And that lot 50, I was there today, will be significantly smaller than the way it's depicted in that image.
Well, in this image, again, I didn't make this the size that it would be because I didn't make this. I split them the way they're currently configured. I did not split them the way they will be after the lot line adjustment is made. This was really the point of this map was to illustrate that there are other lots in the area that
Gotcha.
are comparably sized. Now, the one thing I would point out is you can look at this map. It's a little blurry online because it's been scanned and it's obviously you lose a little bit of resolution when it's a screen share. But if you look at the numbers on the lots, each lot, you can see the lot width. The numbers represent the width of the lot. So if you look at the actual image on that, you can see the lot widths are what I'm portraying them to be, what I've said they are in my letter in support of the application. If I look
On that front, John, just because I know there's people online trying to look at the screen probably right now, as well as we have some people on the phone. So this information is at Village Hall. People can review it. Frank, I'd let you know I think it's in your email too, because I think it was emailed to all of us. It's a little easier to see when it's not in this PowerPoint format. It's getting pixelated on our screen. So, again, this is one of the reasons I think I want to give people a chance to view this after the meeting.
I have a question for Peter with respect to a statement that was made by Mr. Farrell. I think you stated that the maximum you could do with the revised lot size would be something like 7,500 square feet. Did I hear that right?
6,500, around
6,500.
6,497.
Okay, so but isn't there an upper limit on
That
FAR in
factors
that?
in. I think that factors in the upper limit. That was the
Peter?
number that,
Oh, what lot size are we talking about? What are we proposing on the larger lot?
what would be the largest house we could build
In-
on lot
Square
60 after
In
the
an
lot line
R4
adjustment?
district, what's the maximum size you can build out to?
What's the square footage of the proposed lot?
It's 23,000, 23,000 and change. I'll give
All right, so
you the,
Gary, I think I know where you're going. So let me ask this a different way and see if that's what you're asking. So Peter, is there a maximum that someone can build to in R4 zoning? Sounds like you're saying it depends on the square footage of the lot. And so if someone put 10 lots together, the maximum will be determined by the square footage of those 10 lots versus one smaller lot.
Well, we
R4s.
also have breakpoints where above a certain square footage, you can't do more. So now if you're over 22,000 square feet, you're just governed by the FAR. So this is an R4. If you can give me that, I could do the math. If you can give me that lot size again.
23,496.
And our FAR is 0.28 for an R4.
Correct.
So that's 6,578 square feet. So you're above the 22,000. The next cap is an acre. So only the FAR would apply on this, not our breakpoint cap points.
Okay.
Regardless, I think the point is that it would still be smaller than the lot that's at the house that's at lot 20.
I just wanted to be sure we had accurate information, that's all.
Of course. By those calculations, I believe on the other lot, after the lot line adjustment, they could build a house that's around little over 4,000 square feet.
That's for 50 Walnut?
For 50 Walnut, right, after the lot line adjustment, that would be what you could build on 50 Walnut.
And Peter, any idea of the square footage on the home on 40 Walnut, the one that was just constructed? If you don't have that handy, we can.
I don't have that with me.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I can answer that if it's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
I mean, I believe it's 5,056, same as what we're building at 60 Walnut, right around that number, the 5,050.
All right, thank you.
That would have met the cap at less than 22,000. If it's less than 22,000, then you go to a cap of 5,060.
All right, other questions from the board? I guess the only other question I have is you referenced active space. I know we have encouraged people and promoted some greenscaping and use of patios and porches. So Peter, is there any limitations on, I guess, pool or patio space on 60 that would be impacted by this?
Well, you know, we have percentages of lot coverage. We have percentages at maximum for pools in the back. You know, FAR also includes any accessory structures. So if the lot size increases, you could increase up to those numbers as a percentage of the gross lot area.
So is 60 Walnut currently at its maximum, I guess, lot coverage percentage?
I don't know that information. I don't believe so, but I don't have the file in front of me.
I'll open that up to the applicants then. Are you aware of if your current construction is?
The architect would know that. That would be on the zoning submission.
I believe that, I don't think the house is at the limit. I think it's less than 5,000 if I'm not mistaken. I want to say it was like, I don't know, I can't remember, but
All right, we can follow up.
Pat, do you know? Patricia O'Neill is our architect. I don't know if she's.
Hi, I'm just pulling that up. I want to be accurate.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the maximum lot coverage is 25%.
Because I think just while we're waiting, that was another concern that was raised was the amount of outdoor space as well. So obviously, if you're not at your maximum or you are, that could alleviate or address some concerns or raise concerns.
The Baumbach's house, the house that's being built, that's currently under construction, the floor area of that house, they're allowed 5,060 square foot max floor area, and the house being built is 5,056 square feet.
Pat, do you have the lot coverage?
The lot coverage, we're allowed 25%. And we are at 19% lot coverage for their house that's under construction right now.
Okay, so even without this lot line approval, the applicant has 6% more space to use on that property.
Correct. And that, just to, that lot coverage, that 19%, that includes, the house, of course, the garage, the mudroom porch, the rear porch, the pool, the outdoor kitchen space, and we have sort of a walk going to the mudroom. So, that includes, all the improvements on the property. I just want to add, when we were designing the house, when I was designing the house with the Baumbachs, we did, consider making the covered porch larger, and, we certainly, we can do that. We have lot coverage available. But, they felt strongly that they didn't want to, encroach on the backyard, and they really wanted to try to preserve as much green space as possible, again, for, just they really, having outdoor space and, just quote, open space. So, we did pull that covered porch and the patio, we did pull them sort of, way back, again, just to preserve green space on the property.
All right, thank you very much.
welcome.
Any other questions from the board?
I have a quick question and maybe for a follow-up. I would be curious to know what information the residents, I think it was 13 residents that signed this letter of support were given. Were they shown this map, which is not to scale? Were they shown the shading where the larger properties are all corner properties? I would just like to know the level of detail that the residents that were signed, or was it just a generalization of what the average size was that we originally had before we got new information? So I would be curious.
Sure, so I could take that. So my wife and I went around to the neighbors on our street, the new street, and for the most part, the majority of them had a lot of questions. They were very curious about the lot sizes on the street itself, and I would say the overwhelming feedback we received was they were looking forward to having more green space, and they were very supportive of that. We did tell them that the resulting lot would go from 135 and change feet wide to about 114 feet wide and change. And they asked what type of house could be built there, what size. So we answered that question. And I also mentioned that the lot would be bigger than about half the lots on Walnut Lane. And we had great support. So those were the questions. I didn't have the lot map with me to show each resident, but they received the certified letter with the information. And no one asked me specifically, like, what is the size of this address or what is the size of that address? They were just happy to get more green space.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, seeing none, I guess we'll turn it over to the public for public comment at this point. I'd say please, for everybody participating, comments should be limited to the application for the lot line adjustment on 50 and 60 Walnut Lane. Randall, did they just come off mute?
They can just come off mute. And for the
All right.
record, please give your name and address.
Yes, we need everyone's name and address for the stenographer if you're commenting. Any additional comments? I'll give everybody one more minute here to come off mute. right. And if for some reason anybody has a follow-up comment after, they can email us at Village Hall. The one email that we got this afternoon, we'll submit that to the stenographer for the record. Jeff, do we need to read that into the record, or Ronnie, are you there? Or can we just give it?
Sorry,
to
I was
the-
on mute. It doesn't need to be read into the record, but I don't know if Mr. Farrell had received a copy, so maybe we can make arrangements to share that with the applicant in between as well. And I would just ask that it be made a part of the record by
All right,
reference.
yes. Let's do that. It looks like it was signed, email has 23 people on it, and the letter is signed by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 people. So we'll provide that to you, Mr. Farrell and Mr. Bomback. And if there's no further questions or comments from the board, we will adjourn this hearing and carry it over till next month.
So I'd ask if there's a motion to adjourn and carry it over to the next month.
I'll make that motion. Gary Lewandowski.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. It's the mayor.
And if I could ask for Trustee Collins, your vote,
Aye, sorry.
Trustee Dorfman,
Aye.
Trustee Janice,
Aye.
Trustee Lewandowski.
Aye.
I forgot someone, Trustee.
Frank.
Franco.
Aye.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
and the motion carries. And just to confirm, I'm asking the applicant's counsel, and this is with your consent, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody's patience here. So that will complete the hearing for the lot line adjustment. We'll move now to the hearing on the public laws. So everyone is welcome to stay and listen in. But if it's time for you to go, you can go. All right, so do we need to, we need to motion into the public hearing for these laws, or can we just continue on?
I believe we continue on.
Yes, I think you had opened it for the public hearing portion.
Ronnie, are you back on the call?
I'm here.
Oh,
Yes,
good.
we
You
can
take
continue.
over. I'm done being village administrator.
Oh, okay. And I thought Jeff was doing such a good job too.
Hey, it's teamwork here. It makes the dream work.
Okay, so next on the agenda for public hearings is proposed local law F of 2021, fee for cancellation of an inspection appointment. And that is for cancellation without any notice. This was introduced at last month's meeting. There was some discussion among the board. You've all received the local law in your packets. There have been no changes. I'll leave it to the board for any further discussion.
All right, anybody from the board have a comment or question? Otherwise, I'll open it up to the public for comment. All right, seeing none, let's open it up to the public. Say the same thing as I said before. If you're on the call for this, I'd ask that you just unmute yourself, give your name and address, and make a comment. Give everybody another second here. One last time, any comments, questions from the public? All right, seeing none. Any comments or questions from the board? Seems pretty straightforward to me. We've talked about it a bunch. I'd say, I think we keep it open for one more meeting, see if there's any further public comment or questions, and if not, look to potentially adopt this next month. Sound good?
Good. I think we can move on to the next public hearing. Again, this is also the second hearing, proposed local law G of 2021 regarding rental registration. Again, you have been notified of some minor changes in the law was on the trustees' desks well in advance of the statutory requirement. It's also been posted on our website well in advance of the statutory requirement. That being said, I will turn it over to the board.
Okay. One thing that is not included in this language that I do want to update based off conversations with Ronnie and Jeff previously. As part of our food establishment license, we talked about adding a requirement that they submit an annual extermination inspection. That was one of the other issues. So I'd like to have that added in as well, ensuring that those businesses don't contribute to any sort of public health issues based off the issues that came up this year. With that, I guess I'll just turn it over to the board for any questions or comments. And, or actually first, Jeff, do you want to just highlight what the updates were? Because you talked about them in the last meeting. Just refresh everyone's memory.
Sure. In terms of what this local law would control?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think,
what it would
I
do.
think you added some updates around the short-term
Sure.
rentals.
Sure. So essentially, the key provision that deals with the timeframe, I think, is section 170. Just let me turn to it. 6.13, which talks about short-term rentals. And essentially what this breaks down to is to say that if a person is going, if an owner is going to rent out a property, they can do so for 90 days or more, really without requiring going before the Board of Trustees or seeking any particular permission. The only time that somebody needs to come before the Board of Trustees or seek any kind of exemption is if the following happens. Suppose somebody is going to attempt to rent out the property for more than 2 90-day periods within a 1-year period. Then that person would need to seek an exemption from the board. The second would be if a person is desirous of renting out a property for less than 90 days. The intent of this from the reading of the code would be that what the board is hoping to stave off would be continuous and regular short-term rentals. I know that there was some discussion on the last date about what's mentioned in the code, that if someone were to come before the board, what they could ask for in terms of an exemption of what I just mentioned would be based upon if they could show that there was a severe and substantial financial hardship. I just wanted to explain how that, at least from my reading of it, the intent behind that would be. And I think the easiest way to consider it is if you think of some examples of what might come up. You know, and one such example might be that if perhaps somebody had rented out their property for a 90-day period and as well as for a second 90-day period, and then there was an unfortunate circumstance in which perhaps the structure became unusable for a brief time. So the renter, through no fault of the renter, left, was unable to remain. The homeowner then repairs the home. And let's assume also the homeowner isn't on site, isn't in state, lives out of state, and wants to be able to rent that property out again. I could see the homeowner coming before the board and explaining, look, this isn't something where I'm in the continuous short-term rental business. This is a circumstance in which I'm not on site. I fixed the property. I should be able to use my property. I should be able to allow somebody to live there. So I could see somebody coming before the board for that purpose. On the flip side, you could see somebody if perhaps they're looking toward a sale of their property, but there's not going to be anybody taking over the property or taking possession for say 60 days or so. And again, they're living outside of the confines of the state. I could see somebody coming before the board perhaps to say, look, we're on the under 90-day rental. We would ask to be able to rent our property for say 60 days. It's going to be, somebody's going to be taking possession of it after that time. And we'd ask for permission of the board, and they would, I can't speak for them, but their argument would be, because I can't live there, I live elsewhere, I'm paying rent or a mortgage elsewhere. I'd like to be able to have this property used for that purpose. So I did just want to clarify where I think that particular provision comes from. That provision, the 176-13, is the provision that talks about the time frame of rentals. So I hope that clarifies.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? All right, before we open it to public comment, there was a resident who is on last time commented, had sent some follow-up questions. I just want to address them briefly if I can. The first one related to how many other villages in Nassau County were doing this. First I'd state that we're not the first to do it. I certainly don't think we'll be the last. And I think we're trying to be proactive and head off any issues. And, I don't want to sit around and wait for something horrible to happen before we put something in place. We shouldn't just wait around and be reactive to every issue in the village. So I think there's enough documented cases of bad things happening with short-term rentals that provides a need for this type of oversight, and not just short-term rentals. We're talking about standards for long-term rentals here. So as far as the number of villages went, we had surveyed about 24 villages, most of them in our surrounding area. 8 of them had a rental registry, and 13 of them had actually limited or banned short-term rentals. So Ronnie's going to continue to reach out to villages. There are approximately 64-ish. I think in Nassau County, obviously thousands across the state, but we've reached out to try and get more information. But that's a sampling of the villages that we were able to get in touch with and respond to. So again, we're not the first to do this. The second was around crime and do we have problems with existing rentals, and specifically commenting, I think, towards or questioning the need for this around the rodent problem. And I think holistically here, we're trying to ensure that any rentals that are operating in the village have proper safety protocols in place, whether it be fire alarms, smoke detectors, that they're meeting certain quality standards. And then also making sure that there are exterminator reviews in place so that any rodent or pest problems are dealt with. Specifically, the rodent problem over the summer, one property was a rental property. The other property in question was a food establishment. So it's kind of a chicken or the egg issue as to what created the problem. The rodents were living on the rental property, but they were getting food from the food establishment. So in these cases, we'd be potentially addressing both problems to ensure there's proper oversight. In addition, we can do inspections to ensure that alterations aren't illegally made that could promote safety hazard, fire, lack of fire egresses, things like that as well. Finally, the third one related this went back to have we had any disturbances? And when I checked in with Ronnie and our code enforcer, Robert Rockline, no, we haven't had occurrences of large parties or issues like that with rentals. However, again, I don't want to sit around and wait for a problem to happen and be reactive. Let's be proactive here. So I think those were the questions submitted to the board, tried to address them as best I could. I think we'll open it up to public comment now. So if there's anybody on the line who'd like to comment on this public law, please do so now. Just take yourself off mute. Give your name and address.
Hello,
stenographer.
it's Rhoda.
Hey, Rhoda.
Hi.
Rhoda, just give your full name and
this
address
is
for the stenographer.
at 160 Chestnut Road, Rhoda Becker. I assume this is for the rental of the entire property. I just want to make sure that you have some garages with rooms up above them. Although they're not necessarily permitted in certain areas, they do exist. I therefore assume that this is not rental of a garage area or a separate section of a house.
My understanding was this would, if you were renting a room of your house, this would cover that as well. But I'll defer to Jeff here. Jeff, if someone was just renting out a garage apartment or part of the house, would it be covered by this?
It would, because a dwelling unit is defined as a building within the village or part of such building occupied or to be occupied by one or more persons as a residence. And this covers single family dwelling units. So if somebody, the short answer is yes, it will cover it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhoda. Anybody else have a comment from the public? All right, thank you very much. Board, any other comments, questions, discussion around this law?
I think it's maybe well, it's a little bit off the track, but maybe it's something we need to think about. And maybe that's what Rhoda was alluding to a little bit, was, this idea of accessory dwelling unit, which typically is like a granny flat kind of thing. Is this covered? I mean, in other words, are there like family relationship things that can not be covered on this law, or how's that dealt with?
Jeff, help me out here, but my understanding is in New York State, a family unit is pretty broad here. So if someone was just allowing their daughter, their son, their niece, nephew to live with them, or, again, it's pretty broad in New York, broader than that, without compensation, I think would be part of it. They could be contributing to the bills together. But if you weren't renting to them for profit, I think you'd be covered as a single family dwelling.
Okay. Am I muted? No. I agree. The definition of family is included here. So it can be somebody that's related, but it doesn't have to be somebody that's not related by blood or marriage, but who together constitute the functional equivalent of an actual family. And the trigger of when this does go into effect is really when there's an exchange of funds in order for the rental.
I just want to add that our village does not permit two-family dwellings or mother-daughter apartments. There are a few mother-daughter apartments, I think definitely less than 10, that were granted through variances that are, pre-existing. But other than the apartment house, I know of one illegal two-family home. And other than that, there's no single dwelling that has living space for more than one family, other than these like 8 to 10 homes.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? All right, then say same thing for this law. Let's keep it, law proposal. Let's keep it open another month and look to potentially take action based off public feedback next month.
Okay, so the next hearing is proposed local law H 2021, amend the property maintenance code to prohibit unsecured ladders.
All right, any comments or questions from the board on this one?
I think we were pretty clear last month, the intent of the law.
All right, I'll open it up to the public. Anybody who would like to make a comment, please come off mute, state your name and address for the stenographer, and keep your comment to 3 minutes. All right, seeing no comments, I think that concludes our public hearing portion, or the official public hearing portion for this meeting. However, I'm going to
ask for a motion to close the public hearing portion of the meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Do we hear a second?
Trustee Janice.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? By
Aye.
voice vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Any opposed, any abstentions? None. Okay. So let me see. I see a bunch of names on here, I think, for the parking hearing, parking restriction hearing. I think maybe we move to that right now. And just give people a chance to comment on that, and then they can stay for the rest of the meeting if they'd like, but I see that we have a few people on for that. So I'd apologize to everybody. The newspapers did not print last week, so that prevents this from being a formal public hearing, but we will take comments at today's meeting and submit them for the record at next month's first public hearing on the proposed law. Ronnie, you just want to give an overview on what we're proposing for next month?
Yeah, absolutely. So based on some of the comments that we've gotten by mail and email on the kind of parking situation that we'd like to see on Ridge Drive East, we are proposing to create a no parking for certain hours zone on Ridge Drive East, starting from Northern Boulevard, Ridge Drive West, forgive me, Ridge Drive West, starting from Northern Boulevard and extending all the way to Cherrywood. I'm sorry, I don't have the law in front of me. I am digging through my papers because I'm giving you wrong information. And it's the one piece of paper that I don't seem to have here. Okay, it is Ridge Drive East from Northern Boulevard.
Hold on, Ronnie.
I'm sorry, north
Ridge.
to. Does anybody? I have it in your packets because you
Ronnie,
like skipped around. I don't
It's
have it.
Ridge Drive West from Northern
To Peachtree.
Boulevard to Peachtree. Yeah.
165 feet north of Northern Boulevard to Peachtree, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
And before we open it to the public, we had, I think it was 2 years ago now, taken public comment on no parking during that entire period. Part of this issue is being driven by commercial parking in the area. I know we had residents submit a petition opposed to any charges and changes in the parking code for the area. I think this was an attempt at a compromise and to solicit public feedback. The board hasn't committed to doing anything and is looking to get public feedback on this. So at this time, we'll open it up. Well, sorry, pause. Board of Trustees, any questions or comments at this time?
Brian, for the record, well, actually more of a question for Ronnie. Where are we on the reassignment of Middle Neck Road to the village?
We have not heard any further from the Planning Commission. The hearings are over. Now it is being sent to the legislature for approval. What with the changes in the makeup of the legislature, I have no idea how long that's going to take.
Okay, but it has passed through the planning board. That was one of the hurdles that needed to happen. There wasn't any objections, so at least we passed that one hurdle.
No, as a matter of fact, the planning board was in favor.
Excellent.
Thank you, Randall. All right, so we're going to open it up to public comment at this point. I know we have several people to comment on this, so please be patient with us here. You can take yourself off mute, state your name and address for the record, and we'll start taking public comments. So anybody from the public who would like to comment? Is the public off mute? Can they unmute themselves? I don't know. Suzanne, maybe can you give us a test?
I'll start actually. My name's Stacy Misher. I live on 19 Ridge Drive West. I wasn't able to make the last meeting. I guess you said it was 2 years ago now. I'm trying to understand. Okay, so you're putting the signs to Peachtree. And then where do you think that these cars at that point will then disperse? Because what they'll do is they'll go up Peachtree, up East Drive West, East. They'll go through the cut through at Middle Neck Road, They'll park on Ridge Drive West at Overhill. They'll find all these other places. I actually don't necessarily think that my house will be affected because it's so deep in, but all the cut-throughs that are around Flower Hill will have a problem. And quite candidly, when I moved into my house, I saw these big lights from an apartment building that shine into my house, and tried to talk to the town to get higher fencing. I went by rules. There was not allowed to be higher fencing, and I abide by those rules. So I'm not exactly sure. And I moved out of Queens for a reason, right? To be able to live in a neighborhood that does not resemble Queens, that doesn't have signs on property, that doesn't take the parking from stores and brings it into the neighborhood. So I'm actually quite concerned as to why we would agree to now have an entire neighborhood get impacted by store traffic, store parking, and change the whole dynamic of what Flower Hill is, because it will go out through Roslyn, through Manhasset, and through Port when people are looking for homes. So it is a concern of mine, and I'm not really understanding the thought behind it.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Appreciate that. So I'd say definitely not looking to push any of the commercial traffic into any other parts of the neighborhood. I think what we're trying to figure out is there a balance here to maybe push that commercial parking more into the commercial area? I'd say too, I think the long-term fix, and I've said this in past meetings, is Middle Neck Road. We think there's the opportunity to open parking on Middle Neck Road in front of the apartment complex. We'll be discussing an RFP later in the meeting. So I really do believe that's the long-term solution. We'll see what the traffic engineers have to say about it, but just from some initial comments from other meetings or other projects that we've done, soliciting feedback from them, they think that could help and move the commercial traffic out of the residential area. Unfortunately, this area of Ridge Drive is being impacted by it. And I think we're trying to listen to the public for potential solutions and ensure that they don't impact the rest of the community. So that's something we'll be listening to and considering as we move forward with these public meetings. All right, is there anybody else who'd like to comment publicly?
Yeah, this is Hun Chung at 6 Ridge Drive West. Just like to ask a question. Is this the traffic law in change? Is this for temporary, or is going to be more for permanent?
As the way this is proposed, it does not have an end date, so it would be permanent. So if the residents would like something that would only be for a short period of time, that's something the board can consider. But as proposed right now, it doesn't have an endpoint.
I see.
Is that something you would be in favor of or opposed to?
Actually, what I'm concerned about is that whether this is the solution. This is going to be the solution for the problem that we've been having. And as the lady, I want to just one of our neighbors just share her opinion, and I'm not sure whether this would just disperse the traffic elsewhere in our neighborhood, and other neighbors in our neighborhood is going to be impacted. And then I think that this is going to be constantly on the table for discussion. Then probably that may not be going to be the best interest of our neighbors, as well as mayor and trustees of our village.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. That is one of the things that the board is wrestling with. State law does not allow us to just allow residents to park on our streets. And I know other villages have talked about it. It's been covered in the news. But that takes an act of state law to do it, and it is not something that happens very frequently. So Unfortunately, we can't do that at this time. So that's what we're trying to listen to the community as to what other options there are.
Our business owners in our neighborhood have impacted with the situation. Are they aware of the seriousness of this issue that we've been having?
I don't know. We've met with them several times. We call them when we get complaints from you. I think we've made it abundantly clear to them that it's an issue. They've told their employees not to park over there, but unfortunately, it seems like it continues to occur. So, all we can do is keep doing that while we go through this process.
Okay, just one more comment. I'm sorry, and we've been myself and my wife, as well as a few of our neighbors, spoke to someone, an employee of a steakhouse, who constantly parking in our neighborhood, and we expressed our concern, the safety concern, and some of the concerns that we have had, but the response was derogatory words, and it was a very disrespectful. So actually, I sent out a letter to the owner of the steakhouse just for this matter. So I'm not sure if there may be a better solution without impacting our current traffic law in our neighborhood. That's what I want to say.
All right, thank you. And please share the letter that you sent the business owner with us as well. I'd like to see a copy of it and follow up with the business owner as well. And I just mentioned as well, we have asked the police to please try and monitor the area too, because of the speeding and other issues that the residents there have raised.
Right.
All right. Are there any?
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining. Are there other comments from the public? Anybody else? Again, just state your name and address for the stenographer when you come off mute.
Hi, this is Carrie O'Callahan, Ridge Drive West.
Hi, Carrie. Go ahead.
Hey, Brian. So I agree with everything everybody has been saying. For these past, I think we're going on 2.5 years now. What we have been asking is that the businesses not be able to park here. And I know you've gone through a whole bunch of different scenarios and trying to figure out what that is. The problem has only become really egregious over the course of the past few years, say 3 years. Prior to that, these businesses were able to control where their employees parked. So there has to have been some way that was accomplished. My underlying request to you for all of this time has always been, we just want them to stop parking here in ideally a way that doesn't impact any resident at all. It's not good for the neighborhood to have them parking here. So we just really want to do what's best for all of us. But the answer can't be, we went out the other day and we counted, there were 27 cars parked in a 2-block radius between Ridge Drive East and Ridge Drive West. And only 3 of those cars were resident related. That's a huge amount. That's a lot of volume. So I just, I understand people's concerns about it spreading further. It is already spreading further. It has spread down Ridge Drive East. We've now been seeing them on Peachtree. So it's already happening. Experience has taught us here after all this time, we keep giving them spaces, they keep bringing more cars. So we're just really desperately looking for a way to maintain the suburban quality of life that we have all become accustomed to. And as Mr. Chung had just said in his email, these people are really aggressive and nasty. If you try to say to them, hey, I have a delivery coming, can you please not park in front of my house? It's not like you get a polite response. And for some of us like me who don't have a driveway in the front of our house, it's really problematic.
All right, thank you for those comments. Anybody else from the public want to comment? Give one last ask here. Anybody else from the public? I guess just before I close it out here. So again, we will, or actually we have to do a resolution to hold a public hearing on this parking proposal. Correct, Ronnie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so at this point, I would like to ask one of the members of the board to offer a resolution to hold a public hearing on proposed local law A of 2020, limiting parking on Ridge Drive West at the next meeting on February 7th.
So I'll make that motion, and I just say again to everybody, you know, we're trying to come up with a solution that does not impact any of the neighborhood there. So please ask everybody to bear with us as we take public comment and as we work with a traffic engineer and the county to take over Middle Neck Road too. So we'll keep this open and continue the dialogue going here before we make any decisions.
So we have a resolution on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll make the second. Max.
Trustee Franco. Okay, I'll poll the board. Trustee Franco. Trustee Dorfman. You can just raise your hand. Okay. All right, Trustee Lewandowski.
Aye.
Trustee Collins.
Aye.
Trustee Janice.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor.
Aye.
Mayor and Mayor.
Aye.
All right, so on for official public hearing in February.
Okay. And Ronnie, I think we still have the stenographer on. So sorry, it was Madeline. I think Madeline, if you want to go now, we're
No,
recording.
Mayor, according to the executive order that allows these meetings, we have to have a transcript of the entire meeting.
Okay, so then we'll keep going on.
I think that would be unless it's recorded and then it would later be transcribed. So it's up to the board.
Well, I'm not transcribing it later, so.
All right,
Yeah,
so
this
let's
is what
keep
we've
the
done in the past.
stenographer on then. I apologize, Madeline. Please stay on. Okay. All right. I'm just looking through the agenda here, and I see Mr. Clemency in the middle of my screen, and he's been very patient. I appreciate that. I want to move that item up to the front here. North Shore Cable Commission has requested additional funding for attorneys. Wanted him to come in and just give us an update on where negotiations stand. North Shore Cable Commission negotiates with Altice for cable service in the area. So Bill, why don't you just give a little quick history and give an update to the board as to where we stand and why this additional funding is needed?
Sure. The Cable Commission represents the incorporated villages of Manhasset and Great Neck in our negotiations for the franchises of the various cable companies. Obviously, Cablevision is now Altice, Optimum is their marketed, and Verizon. We have been negotiating with them for the past couple of years now. Our present franchises have expired, and we're trying to get new franchises to replace them. Unfortunately, this has been a very prolonged process, and they have not been terribly accommodating or forthright up till now. Although that being said, we do appear to be finally making some progress with them. Towards that end, we have an attorney that we have engaged to represent the commission in these negotiations, and we are coming to the various villages with a request to provide funds for us to continue the process. Our hope is to have these negotiations wrapped up by the end of this coming calendar year. However, we've pretty much exhausted the funds that we obtained from you earlier. Our expectation is we'll probably need about another $30,000 to wrap this all up. And what we've done is we've asked each of the villages to contribute on a prorated basis calculated using the number of subscribers for the individual villages as a percentage of the overall users for the commission. I believe Ronnie has an invoice that was sent to you back in December, and essentially that's where we are right now. The goal is to finalize the franchises. It looks like we're trying to get a 10-year franchise with both companies, although Verizon at this point is only willing to negotiate a 5-year, has been their position. And that's been one of the big stumbling blocks in the process. We'd still like to hold out for the 10 years though, primarily based on the concern that there probably is a finite life for these cable companies. The move is to go to streaming, and more of the residents are starting to go that course. We're seeing a small but a notable downtick in the number of subscribers across the board. And my own personal expectation is by the end of this present 10-year franchise that we're trying to go, that will probably represent the end of cable television as we know it. So it's imperative that we try and maximize the return on the franchise that we're going for right now. And that's essentially where we are. It's a long process. It took 5 years last time to get the agreements that have now just expired. So I'm not shocked that it's taking as long as it is, but it's a frustrating, prolonged process. But it's important that we get this thing squared away.
All right, thank you, Bill.
I'd be happy to answer any questions any of the board may have. I know this is kind of an out of the blue thing for a lot of you. You're really not familiar with the Cable Commission. The other hat I bear is a trustee for North Shore Television, which is the public access channel, which is where much of the funding that we're trying to negotiate goes to. So that's really where we're at this point. And as I say, I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you may have.
So Bill, I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, of course.
This is only for the television portion of the service, not for the phone and not for the internet.
Correct, and not for the internet. That's all governed by the PSC.
Right.
It is only strictly the cable television component that the franchises fund.
Right. So you're asking for about $3,000 if I read this properly.
Yeah, somewhere
what is the annual payback that we currently get and what we're hoping to get going forward to show that this $3,000 is well spent?
You know what, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know that off the top of my head. Ronnie can probably.
Ronnie will know.
It's 3% of the gross for the
television portion,
the franchise.
Right.
So for every $100 that they bill, the village gets $3.
Hey, so
yeah,
2019 actual was 71,000. 2020 actual for franchise fees was 79,000.
Okay, yeah, that's
all right. So spending $3,000 sounds like
about right. In fact, it's 10% of the public access budget. Yeah. So
all right. So $3,000 is a pretty good investment as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, that's the reason we're doing it. And it's also the reason that the commission was created, because, 16 villages combining their negotiations hopefully would yield a much, much stronger position than what any one single village can hope to accomplish.
And I think that's been true, Bill. And I know at some other villages have been, I should say, I appreciate your participation and your activity in this. You are our village's representative. You're also, I know, the chair. And I know in some other villages, they're not getting the same type of engagement. And sometimes I'm answering questions before they have the information from their folks. So appreciate your leadership over there and volunteering to move this along. I agree with Randall. I don't know. And board, any other questions on this?
I
If
just
not-
I just wanted to note that it's $2,950. Is all good.
You forgot to do your paperwork.
Okay. So the invoice is for $2,950. I'll make a motion to authorize the payment of that invoice.
All right, thank you.
Just have
Oh, sorry.
Rhoda Becker at 160 Chestnut Road, having been on the commission many, many years ago. Who's the attorney who's handling it?
The fellow's name is Dan Cohen. He's a media attorney located in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He handles these negotiations for commissions all over the country.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Ronnie,
Rhoda.
we have a motion already on the table.
And I made a motion.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Hands for opposed, abstentions, none, unanimously approved.
All right, thank you very
All right.
much, gentlemen,
Thank you, Bill.
ladies.
Bill, really appreciate your
Bill.
time.
Good night, all.
All right. Good night. We're gonna go back to the regular schedule here. So I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting. From the
Make the
December.
motion.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Do we have a second?
Second.
Claire, thank you. Second from Claire. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Raise your hand. Thank you. Any opposition? Abstentions? Seeing none, approved unanimously. All right, we'll move to the claims. I'll look for a motion to approve the claims. Any questions, I should say, first on the claims?
None.
Seeing none, I'll make, is there a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the claims. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Max, do you have to abstain from anything on here? I don't think so. Or
No, he has
Yes,
his
yes.
blanket abstention for the art of landscaping.
And I think I'm forever blanketed for that.
there you are. Perfect. All right. Claims are approved. All right, Rich, I know you talked about the snow before. Any updates?
Yeah, no, we actually got lucky today. Right now we're just tracking something for Friday. I know they're talking if, obviously, again, like today, if this tracks a little bit more north, we'll get more snow. But, you know, we got a couple of days before we actually have an idea of what's going to happen. But, you know, whatever comes, you know, we're ready for it, just like today.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
All right.
Oh, one
and-
thing, I'm sorry, I just forgot one thing. I know, Frank, we've been talking about that pothole / problem we're still having over there. Me and Ronnie and Heather, we've been working with this contractor to get him to fix it, and nothing has been done. So I believe now, Ronnie, right, we're going to get the bond on this contractor.
That's correct. We're going to go against the bond. You know, not right now since we can't, you know, this is not the time to
Yeah.
fix the road.
Yeah, you
But,
can't do it now. No.
Yeah, we're going to do it, you know, in the early spring.
Okay, good.
I just wanted to update you, Frank, just because I know
Thank
the last
you.
2 months you were asking for it, so I know I didn't want you to think I forgot about you.
I'm assured that you did not forget about it, Richie.
All right,
And
no problem.
Rich has been actively started this year's road assessment too. So
We're in
feel free-
2022. Yep.
Feel free to send him any comments or pictures as he moves through the village to score the roads.
And just for the record, Rich told me that he can't stripe the streets until the weather's like 70 degrees. If anyone was
I mean, we
questioning
get
why.
lucky. I mean, if we get lucky on a day, we can get like 60s, you know, we'll put down the material. I mean, it's happened before. We've had some warm weather in January, February, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So if we do get lucky, I have no problem putting it down. Just took the material forever to get to us. And by that time it got pretty cold. So, but if we get lucky with a warm day, we'll definitely put it.
All right, thank you.
I have quick question for Rich. Just any quick update on Stoningtown Road on the landslide waiting to happen?
I'm not
So,
sure. I know
Rich,
we
we don't have the latest on that. Don't worry. So, Peter and Jeff, because I know some of this was dealt with in court. There's some emails on it. So, the Knowles Lane property owner was in court. He stated that he took some steps, or the steps that the village recommended. We're waiting for verification on that. There was a map that he was supposed to provide with, I think, marking out where some of the different drains were on the property too as part of that work. So it sounds like Knowles Lane has done most of their work. And then Peter, just give an update on the Stoneytown property, please.
Well, their engineer has been in contact. We were waiting, the first thing we were waiting for them, which we stressed that was important, was the existing wall at the top of the hill, the stability of that. They had to get a separate structural engineer to do that. We haven't gotten that yet. And again, we wanted to coordinate both the plan from Knowles and theirs together to see how it would work together to mitigate any future work. So it's been slow in coming. We got to apply a little pressure here because frankly, it's taken too long from everybody.
So they have both been in court, correct, Jeff? So where do their cases stand in court?
They've both been adjourned over. The Knowles property was put over to next month in order to allow for them to meet with Mr. Albinski and Robert Rockline. The Stoneytown property had also been adjourned over, but the concern I have is that, as Mr. Albinski is mentioning, and as Mr. Lanazak, I think, would echo, they've been reaching out to get this report. The main issue is that report on the status of the wall, the safety of the wall.
Okay.
So
let's, and Mary Jo, I'll follow up with you separately. I'll follow up with the rest of the board separately. We will, let me consult with Jeff, Peter, and Robert on next steps, but we'll be taking further action. We've already cited them once, and that's why they're in court. And so I want to evaluate our options. Okay. Also, just from a village engineer's perspective, Ronnie, I saw the emails on the Cardinal Road property. They are going to dig on their property. Folks may remember this is the one with the septic tank issues. So they've offered to dig on their property, and they wanted observers from the village, county, and town there to help establish whether a pipe exists and see if they can help determine who that pipe is owned by. That should be occurring on January 12th. And I know Mr. Einbender said the earlier the better. So, Ronnie, I'd say let's shoot for 9 a.m. and try and confirm that with Steve, Peter, and the rest of the folks that are supposed to be involved, because that's next week. Okay.
Yeah, I wrote back to him because I don't think he was clear that that's was, what was supposed to happen. I think he believes that we're just having a meeting. So I'm hoping to clear that up with him by tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, there's no purpose to, I think, have a group meeting again. We've beaten this to death. Yeah. So the next meeting we have will be to observe them actually digging on the property. Okay. What do we have next? A polling place resolution?
Yeah, so I'm looking for someone to offer this resolution announcing the polling place and time for the March 15th, 2022 general election. This resolution must be adopted at least 60 days prior to the election. And we are resolving that the election be held at Village Hall. The hours will be from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. That certain notices will be provided at least 10 days prior to the election. notice stating the polling place, the hours of the polls, and the names and addresses of all those who are nominated for office. And these notices will also be posted in at least 6 places throughout the village.
We still need to have a meeting first week in, when is it?
Yes, we're ready to have that February 3rd at 7 p.m. We will have a special meeting to appoint the election inspectors.
All right, I'll make a motion for that resolution.
I'll second.
Thank you, Claire. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? Again, seeing none, passes unanimously. All right, Jeff, your report. I don't think there's any extranet updates, but BZA.
Sure, BZA, I circulated a written report. While most is self-explanatory, I do want to follow up on item number 1, because at first reading that, it'll appear like it's a very large request, that the applicant seeking to increase the floor area ratio to 10,593.96 square feet, where the maximum permitted is 5,068. Just to clarify, this was before the board before, but when this house was built, the size of the structure above 10,000 square feet was permitted. The code was changed after that house was constructed. They're now requesting a variance, but the house was already built at that now, large number. What they're actually requesting in the end, the variance they're seeking will actually reduce their floor area ratio. So I'm just looking at Mr. Albinski. What essentially happened was they came before ZBA, they were making some changes, and they made some modifications even to their proposal, which would lessen the impact of the existing structure, such as removing roofs from proposed upper decks and things of that nature, that makes the volume appear to be less impactful to those surrounding. So I'm just looking at Mr. Albinski, if you can share some thoughts on that. But that's I think the summary of where that application stands and why the Board of Zoning felt that after the number of changes that the applicant made, that it made sense to grant it, because the benefits sought by the applicant would outweigh any detriment to the surrounding community.
Yeah, so I mean, the proposal was, it's basically alterations, but there was some pushing and pulling of some of the areas, creating balconies, taking away in other areas. When they first came in, they increased the area by several hundred square feet. So I think the direction of the zoning board was they wanted it reduced so that there was no more than the existing. They were doing some, again, pushing and pulling of some of the different corners of the house and balconies, and in the end, we got them to go under what their square footage was. And historically, I looked at this, and it seems like as soon as this application was submitted, that's what tipped off the whole FAR requirement of the village code. It followed like almost within a month of this a couple months of this application being filed. I guess at the time, never realized people could take it. It was only a coverage requirement, but not an FAR. So I think this was the test case that created that.
And other than that, I've nothing further to report unless there are questions.
All right. Any questions for Jeff? All right. I do not have any updates for this meeting. Claire, do you want to talk about the food drive and the amazing drive from Thanksgiving through Christmas and the end of the year? It was phenomenal.
No, happy to. I guess this is my monthly shout out to the Vincent Smith School, who once again came out really strong. They collected so much food that they again earned another week without a uniform. We had a great ceremony with resident Milan Doshi. The mayor came to thank the children and just educate them a little bit on the impact that they're having in the community. It was a great event all around. Again, they collected a huge amount of food. really proud of them and just hope to continue this momentum into the new year for sure.
And I gotta tell you, it was a great experience. The kids were so happy, understanding how they were impacting people's lives. It was a great civics lesson, and I think a great example for the community. So I know there were a couple ideas, things that the school wanted to follow up on and potentially partner with the village on. So let's definitely do that. Thank you for all the work around that.
Yeah.
That's really great. That's really great to hear. And we should get this out published in some way, because this is a really good story. Like, you know, we should build on this one. I don't know if do we have a reporter even in our midst here, but let's get the story out there. Were there any photos from the event?
Yeah, we have photos. It's up on Facebook, and we will put something out.
Yeah.
And we should talk about it a little bit further, Gary. Just there are some privacy concerns with some of the children, you know, that can't be photographed.
Sure. No.
But I totally agree. It's a real feel-good event for sure.
Good.
All right. RFP for Village Auditor is next.
Okay, so the village went out to bid for our annual audit services for the village as well as for the Justice Court. We received 4 responses. 2 of them were quite high. We interviewed the 2 low responses, and that was by the mayor, the deputy mayor, Suzanne, and myself. And we were really impressed by a firm called Skin and Faber. They do many other villages in our area, including North Hills. The staff at North Hills has been very happy with them and found them very easy to work with. Again, as I said, they were the low bid. So I'd like to ask for a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement to sign up with Skin and Faber as our auditor for a 3-year period.
And also for the record, this accounting firm does a lot of municipal audits.
That's what they specialize in. They don't do much of anything else. They do schools, villages, special districts.
And they do a lot of
government accounting.
And they do a lot of villages that's our size as well. So they have a lot of experience. They're going to put the right people on the team, and I think it's a good choice to go with these people.
Yeah, and I just add to that, based on our conversation with them and the others, I felt like this was the best firm for the reasons you've all stated. Just they're not overwhelming themselves. Like you're saying, they do a lot of municipal accounts, but I mean, when we talk about these contracts and services, right, this has come up with paving. It's not only just about the lowest bidder, it's making sure you're getting somebody who's going to do the work, do quality work, and that the staff is going to have a good rapport with. We had them walk us through what their process is when they come to Village Hall, how they will communicate with the staff. And so I think they have a really good plan in place that will achieve the goals of the village and ensuring that, we can make sure that our finances are in order. So I'll just add that to the comments to this point. And are there any questions from the board on this RFP? It's a Skin and Faber, sorry, is the firm that we're talking about going with. If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to enter. Well, I have to enter into the contract, right? So I'll see if somebody else will make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Frank.
Second it.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Seeing none, passes unanimously. All right. Sorry, just going through, making sure I checked off everything I was supposed to. I think the last thing we have is the Middle Neck RFP. Is that the last thing on the agenda, Ronnie?
Yes, it is. So again, we put out an RFP for an engineering firm to design the parking on Middle Neck Road. We've got 3 responses. We got 2 very high responses. VHB, who is Bob Eschbacher's firm, was by far the low bid for basically all similar services. I had sent you all the packets that were part of the responses. If you're ready to make a commitment now, we could pass a resolution and get started.
Ronnie, did you
Or we
say
can
that
put it off.
Eschbacher was the lowest bid?
Yes, by far.
So this is a no-brainer, basically, because they're the best.
I know, that's what I said, well, when the mayor asked me about them, I said, you know,
they're the best
Frank
parking
calls him
guys.
I call Bob Mr. Parking.
They're the best traffic and parking consultants. And
Agreed.
Suffolk County, I know, did a lot of work with them too back when I was with the county. So I know they got
they're great.
tons of
They're
experience.
real pros. They really are.
Yeah. All right. Any questions from the board?
Well, wait, did Ronnie say, can we vote to move that, or that has to?
Sure, no, we can.
Might as well get them on board and get this going.
What's the scope? What's the scope again?
You know, it's basically,
So
they're gonna
it's
go out and do measurements and design and watch the traffic flow and figure out where we should put the traffic.
So
the
this is a
parking
study?
spaces.
This is for a study or is this for a
No,
design?
this is for a design
Hold
of
on.
the parking.
I'll read it to you. They're going to prepare a conceptual plan for the total number of parking stalls that may be obtained by modifying striping Middle Neck Road from Northern Boulevard towards Greenway. So they're going to look at that area and look at how we can adjust the road to provide for parking, layout, pavement markings, and signage that we would need along the road. Look at potential site distance impacts on adjacent driveways, because that was one of the things we heard from the community was they didn't want, if parking was being supplied on the road, they didn't want the driveway access there impacted, and itemized construction cost estimates for proposed work. I think that was all of it. All right, anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve VHB as our traffic and parking consultant.
Yeah.
I'll second. I'll second.
Okay. Trustee Frankel's the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All
All right, that's everything on the agenda. The history report has been submitted. We're not going to have a presentation tonight, but it's been submitted for the record. Anything else from the board or the staff at this time? If not, we'll move to public comment. All right, let's move to public comment. We'll open it up to anybody from the public who has comments for the board. I would say to anybody wishing to comment, please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Just take yourself off mute. Anybody? All right. With seeing nobody wanting to participate in public comment, I'll look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, passes unanimously. Everybody have a good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.